Detroit basketball.
Isn't how I envisioned this or planned this. But I'm going to retire. This is not an easy decision. Honestly, it's the hardest decision of my life. But it is the right decision for me. For the last 4 years or so, I've been in this cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab. And it's been unceasing and unrelenting, both in season, and off season. And I felt stuck in it, and the only way I see out is to no longer play football. It's taken my joy of this game away, and this. Sorry. Well, my friends, thank you. And my wife, Nicole.
It's getting a little emotional in here.
And I guess in a philosophical sense, I want to thank football for so many wonderful moments in my life and the pressure, circumstances, environment that pushed me to grow, learn, change in so many meaningful ways. It's the greatest team sport in the world. And please, if you have questions, I'd like to ask them.
It was mind-blowing. It was something that, of course, caught everyone off guard. But hey, I mean, that's he can control his own future, and he's a great player. He's a great quarterback, one of the top 5 quarterback in the league, and he's doing it for the right reasons for himself.
I just was told about it before I came in here, and that probably shocked me as much as everyone. I mean, he's one of the best guys in our league, and one of the most impressive people I've been around just going through the interview process and stuff. So I'm sure he has a very good reason and everything. But that was crazy to just hear that.
And welcome into the show. It's Views from the Sideline. Today it is August 27th, 2019. Fellas, that was one of the biggest shocks in sports over the last decade. Andrew Luck retiring from the NFL after playing only 7 seasons. I want to open up the show, instant reaction, because this is huge news. This is one of the biggest news we've seen while doing this show. Joe, Malik, someone hit me first with the reaction.
I'd say it's past this decade. It's one of the most shocking things in NFL history, to be honest. When was the last time we saw a star quarterback in his prime with a fully formed team around him ready to go, locked and loaded, retire a few weeks before the season starts? I mean, stuff like this doesn't happen. And although stuff like this doesn't happen, I think stuff like this is going to start happening more in the coming years because people are starting to take notice more of CTE and head injuries and the toll that the sport of football, especially professional football, has taken on not only quarterbacks, but all professional football players, whether you're in the NFL, CFL, any league. I mean, Andrew Luck stepped into the league as a Colt and got beat up his first 2 or 3 seasons, absolutely wrecked. And it didn't help also that his style of play was he's a football player at heart. He has a big body. He's 6'3", 6'4", 230. When he got outside the pocket, when he got through the line, he was going to run and try to get a first down or try to get as many yards as he could. So he put his body on the line for that organization. And unfortunately, those injuries have tacked up, and it's crazy. It's really insane. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed a lot of people saying, this is like my reaction too, is you saw the news on Twitter and you didn't believe it, that you thought it was like some fake account. I think Adam Schefter was the first one or one of the first to tweet it out. And with the way that Twitter works these days, there's a lot of like impersonators And so you had to check like, oh, is the T right? Is it one
Yeah.
of those weird
Yep.
little symbols or something that somebody's using? Is it the actual Adam Schefter of ESPN? And it was. And it was a huge surprise. You had to double check all your sources because everybody was thrown off by it. It's super surprising, especially with, like Malik said, this team, some people had pegged to go to the Super Bowl potentially.
And you guys picked them to win the division.
I did not. I had the Texans.
I had the Texans too. No, I think you had the Colts,
I think
Joe.
you had the Colts.
No, I picked the Texans. I think
Run the
you're-
tape.
Run the tape. We're gonna run it back and we're gonna put it right here.
Yep, I'll throw it in. I think just the Texans overall have more firepower. For some reason, I can't get behind the Colts.
And I'm gonna echo you, Joe. I'm gonna go 10-6 as well because I think they're right. They're just right there with the Texans. It's gonna be just maybe they miss out on one game, they lose a lead late. They are on the same tier as the Texans. It's gonna come down to the last week of the season. I give Texans the nod here. Give me 10-6 for the Colts,
Throw it in.
Malik.
My-
And now you guys saw that I picked the Texans. Joe picked the Colts. All right, carry on.
Maybe we will pick the Texans. I don't know. But either way, this team was in line to do something this year. And now, because you lost your biggest weapon, the quarterback, the hardest player to replace on a team, it's going to set them back. Now, the good thing for them is that they have Jacoby Brissett, who's a veteran in this league, always been a solid backup. He played for them a couple years ago when Andrew Luck was out.
Didn't play bad either.
He didn't play bad, but you can't replace Andrew Luck. And it's going to significantly hamper this team
I know what they should
in
do.
the long run.
I mean, there's a quality quarterback on the market, but they won't sign him. Colin Kaepernick.
I was gonna say Tim Tebow as a joke. But
Come on.
he's playing baseball.
I'm being serious. I'm
I
being
know,
serious,
I know,
though.
I know, yeah.
Colin Kaepernick could walk in and start over Brissett.
That's hard
not
to say, though.
Not
Okay, maybe not
yeah.
immediately just because he's been out of the game
I was going to
for a
say,
while.
now that he's been out, it's hard to
Yeah,
say.
it would take a while for us to see. We know he's been working out and he's ready to.
But to get into his system, preseason's
Yeah,
essentially
it'll-
over.
yeah.
Yes, okay, I agree with that.
And that's the other thing that's the hardest part about this is that, well, let's go back a second. Do you guys agree with? So fans booed Andrew Luck as
Oh,
he
totally
walked off
disagree. That was a
of
terrible.
the preseason game 3, I believe it
Yeah,
was.
although it was terrible, I mean, you got people. It's the fourth quarter of a preseason game. People are probably insanely drunk.
It doesn't
All
matter.
of a sudden, they get. And they're human beings. Drunk people at a
Dude.
football game, especially diehard.
You can't give 'em that
diehard
pass.
Colts fans.
You can't give him that pass.
I think you have to give them that pass.
No.
People act irrationally, especially at football games when they're drunk. Fights break out every year, every
I'm
week
not giving that
because
pass.
of alcohol and the intensity of pride for football teams. So sitting in the stands, just expecting the game to end, all of a sudden,
No.
breaking news comes up on your phone.
After what Andrew
You're
Luck
sitting in that
no.
Indianapolis stadium. Instant reaction is anger. If I'm a drunk football fan sitting in that stadium and all of a sudden I find out the quarterback of this team who's going to lead us to wins is just gone all of a sudden, I would be
I'd be
upset
upset
at first too.
I'd be
but
upset. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe I
First,
wouldn't boo.
You
Booing
wouldn't
is a
boo.
lot. Booing
Boo
is a
is
lot.
the extent that I say no.
I think the people that joined
Being
in on
upset
the
is
booing,
human nature.
if there were just like 1 or 2 or 3 drunk people angry booing, the whole stadium started joining
Well,
in.
being
That's the thing that really was bad. The whole stadium started
That's what I'm
joining in
saying.
on
Like,
it, yeah.
of course, there's going to be an instant reaction of, "Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow!" But to actively boo this man, looking at him and booing him as he's walking off the field when he makes a decision that's right for his health, his family, his health, and his future, I can't. I wouldn't. I know for a fact. Yes, even if I would not boo the man.
I wouldn't have either.
No, I disagree with that completely.
And without him, that franchise would have been
Exactly what
nowhere
he's done
over the past.
It's not
7
like he
years.
hasn't done anything for the franchise as well.
Exactly.
I understand you had such high expectations going into this year, but you have to respect a decision made for his health and his family and his future.
And it took
As
them,
a human being.
It took them this long to finally shore up his O-line and get him everything he needed. 7 years. It took them 7 years.
I think that instant last or a couple nights ago, whatever, this weekend, epitomized scrutiny of athletes. Like, if let's take Andrew Luck out of the equation that he's a football player. If he was doing anything else with his life that could harm him in the future, could do something to his family, and he decided to walk away from it, people would be like, okay, I totally understand. But since it's sports, it gets so scrutinized. That's the one thing I can't stand. And with Joey's smirking, so what do you have to smirk about?
Joey has opinions.
My only smirk is that I think my instant reaction, I might have booed.
Why?
I would have regretted it the night that I went home afterwards.
Yeah.
But I can understand it because, and I've listened to a lot of people talking about it, obviously, with it being the biggest news in sports as of recently. But you got to think, this isn't like the first time somebody has ever had an early retirement, and that was somewhat of a surprise. Like the Lions have gone through twice. Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, two of the greatest players in Lions franchise history. The difference with a lot of these guys that have retired early and made surprising retirements is that Calvin Johnson, I think they said, retired in March. Barry Sanders was sometime in May or something, or June. Andrew Luck is doing it August.
Yeah.
It's
the timing is the craziest
third
part,
preseason game.
But
And
he
I
was
think
probably,
that's where...
I think he was mulling his decision, though. He wanted to give himself enough time as possible. And
Right.
he did let the Colts front office know, hey, guys, I'm mulling this idea of retiring. He told them in the off season, so they knew going in that this was a possibility.
Right.
Yes, the fans didn't know, but they don't make decisions. They don't need to know. He gave enough time for the front office to make the proper adjustments,
Right.
in my opinion.
But at the same time, even if the front office knows that, they're going to assume that Andrew Luck is going to stay because he's their best option. So they're going to make sure that the system fits around that.
To
Because-
assume is a bad move as a front office.
I-
You got to expect the unexpected if you're going to be a savvy front office.
I don't really think so, only because it's so hard to make a move around a possible retirement in general.
Well, you can't make a move with luck, but I think you can make a move of getting a backup quarterback that you think can make the jump. Get players that you think can be dynamic without Andrew Luck. There's stuff you can do to set yourself up for success post Luck retirement announcement.
But again, the fans not knowing is the part that I can understand why they're upset, is because, yes, he had been contemplating it for a while, but to wait till this moment in time when everybody's, getting ready and excited and they're like, okay, we have a chance to make a run here after what they saw last year. And that's just got to be hard as a fan. And so I can understand that. Now, the fantasy people that are upset, that's why you wait to draft your fantasy team till later, before all the preseason injuries get out of the way. Those guys I don't care about. They don't deserve to boo. Now, the actual Colts fans, I can see it. I can understand it. But yeah, it's hard either way, because I think, like, if you think it's like the Lions, if Matthew Stafford retired, as much as a lot of people wish he would kind of go,
people would cheer. Some people,
it would.
I don't think they would boo.
A lot of
I don't
Lions
think
fans
they would
would
boo.
cheer.
I don't think Lions fans would
I think
boo.
when you look at who the backups are, you'd maybe start booing.
Well, again, if it's the same situation, I think you have a different backup quarterback.
But I also think that the Colts were set up okay because Jacoby Brissett has been behind guys like Tom Brady and things like that, and he's been in the system for a long time. So he's pretty much their best option as a backup.
And I think the Colts knew that going in, knowing all this retirement talk was possible. They decided to stick with Brissett because they thought he was their best option.
Which is in turn where the problem lies in the NFL, is that your starting quarterback is always levels, miles ahead of your backup, almost always.
Yep. In your opinion, was this the right move for Andrew Luck? It's got to be a yes. I mean, whatever he thinks is best for his family.
And that's always the hardest part to tell, is like, I'm not Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck knows himself, so he obviously had to have made the right decision for himself.
Yeah.
Maybe he regrets it in some aspects, but
I thought he did a very good job of how he announced it too.
The other thing too is that the Colts decided that they're going to finish out paying his contract,
That was a classy move.
which I thought was interesting. They could have taken it was almost like $25 million
27, I think.
that they owed him, and they said they're going to pay him. So that at least he got some respect there, which is
Just
I
like the
think it's
Lions
cool to
paid
see.
Calvin Johnson. Oh, wait.
After everything he did for that organization, it would have been disrespectful not to pay him.
Just like Calvin Johnson. Oh, wait. And that's why the Lions.
well,
Had
Calvin.
issues.
Calvin
This
would've
isn't
come-
about the Lions.
But
This is about
I know
Calvin
it's
would have come
about the
back
Colts.
if he got paid.
This is about Andrew Luck.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Now it's about Jacoby Brissett.
You know what? I could see Jacoby having a good year. I really
I
could.
think he could too. He's a good quarterback.
Now winning the division, I don't think so. But he
No,
could be
I
good.
think it's the Texans now for sure.
Yeah, just like I predicted.
I
It's
can't
gonna,
wait. I can't
it's
wait
gonna
to
look
look that
bad if I said the Colts,
up. I'm
but I'm pretty sure I said the Texans.
okay.
This Andrew Luck news. I remember. I think was it Sunday night or Saturday?
Saturday.
Saturday.
It was during the Florida Miami game.
Yeah, it was
'Cause
Saturday.
I first found out when it came across the ticker on the bottom.
Really?
It said breaking news. Andrew, I almost lost it when it first came across because I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
And there was no whispers about this going.
Exactly.
Into
It came out
it
of
was kept
nowhere.
very close to the vest. Is this the biggest surprise sports news over the last decade?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? Think about it. Because there's been a lot of sports news that's happened over the past decade.
There
as
were
far as
some
like
examples
surprises,
people put on
LeBron
Twitter.
joined. I mean, just so
LeBron
you know,
joining the Heat was
LeBron joining the
big,
Heat
yeah.
is in this decade,
yeah, but I don't know if
and then LeBron coming back to Cleveland also.
But that was the kind of that stuff is always like kind of like hinted at for a long time, and then when it finally happens, you're not as surprised. Like this was literally out
Chris
of
Bosh
nowhere.
had to retire for blood clots.
Like this was way out of left field.
I'm trying to think.
You got to remember that LeBron made a whole special surrounding that he was going to go to the Heat,
Well, then, but
and
then,
up to that point, people had already said that the Heat was probably his top priority.
People brought up
It was
the Aaron
huge,
Hernandez thing, but that's really dark. We're not going to go into that.
Yeah.
That's up there with this one.
just thought I'd throw it out there.
I mean,
I
just
think there's a couple
off
things
the
we're
top-
missing. Yeah, I
Off
think,
the top of my head, it is.
yeah. Recapping Andrew Luck, he did miss a full season in 2017. After that, I mean, before that, he had one season where he played half the year. Then he started in 16 games in 6 of his seasons.
Had a great year last year.
Great year last year. That's why they were set up potentially for a division victory this year. He was 10-6. Yeah, they were 10-6 last year. 8-7 the year past, or 9-7 the year past. Then his first 3 years, 11-5.
And I think the crazy thing too is that a lot of people pointed out that if he could have finished out his career, went longer, or just won a Super Bowl, he'd be in the Hall of Fame discussion. Just because of his numbers.
And now it's just going to be
which
all
at
a
first
huge
sounded,
what if.
which sounded crazy to me at first, but you go back and look at his numbers, and they're Hall of Fame type numbers.
Exactly.
If you can keep it up,
Yeah,
obviously.
he's done great for his first 7 years. He has a lot of it's not records. He's top 5 in some categories for quarterbacks in the first 7 years in their career. Like he's had a better first 7 years than guys like John Elway, some Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It took John Elway 15 years to finally get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, sometimes quarterbacks don't come into the league right away and just dominate from the
Exactly.
get-go.
4-4 in the playoffs with what they gave him is pretty good to me.
Luck, he also had 16 comebacks and 20 game-winning drives in his career. in
And
the
he's a
NFL.
Stanford grad with an architecture degree, so he'll probably do great for himself.
He doesn't need to work another day in his life.
He doesn't.
But I mean, if he wants
he's an
a hobby.
extremely smart man.
If he wants a
he's
hobby,
gonna make
sure.
he's gonna make tons of money.
You know what's gonna happen? You know how
using
many
that
people
brain
are,
of his.
you know how many people are gonna ask him to do like commentary and stuff like that.
I
Like,
don't think that's his forte.
but they're gonna. I guarantee you, he'd be offered a huge amount of money.
He might.
I
I just don't think that.
play by play. I think he could.
I bet he might make some surprise appearance at Stanford games, but for NFL, nah.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
think
he's that kind of guy.
it'll be a while before he touches anything NFL.
But
again
it's his
for a while.
mind that he can. Like Tony Romo, yes, I know he's maybe more fluid and easygoing when it comes to being a color analyst or play-by-play guy. But Andrew Luck's also got a great quarterback mind, which is something special, which most of these guys don't have. So sometimes you put up with, it might not sound as crispy as Tony Romo breaking it down, but Andrew Luck's a different type of animal. And there's a reason why he was special and was touted as potentially going to be one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So
We shall see.
anything else you guys want to add on Andrew Luck before we
Bets
move
on him coming back in 2 or 3 years. A
I'm-
lot of people think
Did you
after
see-
he's fully healed and he gets back and people think he's going to make a comeback.
I saw a post on
Poor
Twitter.
Brett Favre. I did see.
A post on Twitter of a guy that bet $1,000 on Andrew Luck to win the MVP a day before he announced his retirement.
Wow.
Wow.
I also saw a meme on Instagram of talking about Andrew Luck's retired or something. Who can save the Colts now? And it's a picture of Brett Favre shaving.
Let's just put Geno Smith over there. I'll be a Colts fan.
Stop
time to
it.
move on.
I'll be a
Anyway,
Colts fan.
Time to move on.
Anyway,
Congrats, Andrew.
Yeah, congrats, Andrew, on your decision. Best of luck to you. Hopefully, we hear you down the road.
don't the Lions play the Colts this year?
I think they do. That's a win, Joey.
Let's go.
Watch them lose.
Jacoby
Jacoby.
Brissett throws around for 400 yards.
Oh boy.
All right.
Eric Ebron's catching at least 4 touchdown passes that game.
Be the Matt,
All red zone.
be the Matt Flynn game all over again.
Moving on. College football. It's going on. It has started. Week
Yes.
1. Malik. We
Malik.
had some games. Did you just say your name?
Yes.
It's like, what?
I'm getting hype and I just started
in the
repeating what
third
you were
person.
saying. I didn't expect you to say Malik. I just was repeating things.
Can we have that on a clip? We need a clip.
Malik.
that.
Malik.
We'll break down the past weekend. Malik.
Okay. This past weekend, week 0. That's what they call it.
I know.
And
That's so
yeah.
weird to me.
I like it for some reason. I like it. But Florida versus Miami, it was kind of hyped up. Although week 0 games aren't usually just explosive like middle of the year games where teams are like on their game and everything is coming together. It's where everybody gets the cobwebs out and teams start figuring out what kind of teams they are. Florida beat Miami 24-20. Florida is ranked as I think the 10th team in the country. Miami came in unranked. Miami put up a good fight.
No, Florida's actually 8th because that
Eighth?
was the big
Oh,
thing because
yeah.
they're right behind Michigan and they beat Michigan.
Yeah.
Just remembered that.
Yeah, both teams. Well, Miami came out pretty crisp. They had a really good game plan out the gate because they have a redshirt freshman quarterback named Jaron Williams, who was pretty highly recruited. A lot of people didn't know about him, but he was a starter. He had a pretty good game, but his offensive line is very young, and he got beat up. I think he got sacked 10 times. It was kind of ugly at times, but he still had them in the game near the end. Felipe Franks, quarterback for Florida, he still looks kind of shaky out there. I still expect him to improve a lot throughout the season, and I expect that team to look even better as the season goes on. That Florida defense, that front seven, they are so fast and aggressive, and they were getting after Florida. A lot of tackle problems for some reason. It was weird. They missed a whole bunch of tackles on DJ Dallas, Miami's running back, who needs more carries. He only had like 10 carries, but had like 100 rushing yards. Yeah, interesting first game. And then Hawaii beat Arizona.
I told you to watch
45-38.
Hawaii. I told you guys Hawaii. was
Arizona
coming this
might
year.
not make a bowl game
That was
this
a
year.
classic
looking,
slobber knocker of a
it's-
game.
You are 100% right.
Slobber
Um,
knocker.
It's kind of sad. Khalil Tate for Arizona is one of the most electrifying players in the country, but a lot of people won't see him because they're going to be playing like 10-30 games, Pac-12 games, and
Yeah,
they play on the Pac-12 network a lot, and a lot of people don't pay attention to that. And their team is going to be very average to below
Yeah.
average, so it's going to be weird seeing how his career ends as a senior quarterback. But Hawaii put up points. Their quarterback Cole McDonald had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions at the end of the first half
Mhm.
because that offense is just chuck it downfield
And,
nonstop.
All their touchdowns was to one receiver who finished with
Cedric Bird, 4 touchdown passes.
24. Yeah.
He's going to have ridiculous stats at the end of the season, and nobody will talk about him
Yeah.
because that offense is just set up for their best receiver to put up ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
But
That's just a classic Hawaii offense.
really good,
Classic Hawaii.
surprisingly good game to end week 0, 45-38. Arizona loses. Khalil Tate just misses getting into the goal line in the last few seconds, and Hawaii wins. Now we're on to week 1.
Yeah.
And week
And I'm
1,
excited.
let's start with the preview. It's the Michigan State Spartans versus Tulsa. Joey, break it down.
What do you have to say besides win?
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, early on in the college football season, you got your easier games.
I
So
do
this
want to
is
ask
where
this though.
this is where you have to get yourself prepared
Yeah,
for the big games.
there are still things people want to see out of this Michigan
Because-
I was
State
gonna say
team.
that offense.
Because even
Yeah.
next week they play Western Michigan after Tulsa, and then they go to play Arizona State, and so Michigan State's schedule isn't super easy off the gate.
like, does Michigan State score 30 plus this week?
Yeah.
35, I think is question. I don't know.
Healthy Brian Lewerke, the receiving core is back. The O line should get better.
Yeah.
Should
That's
get better.
And that's what I put. Offense is the biggest question mark for this team. I think this defense is going to be fine. They got some good guys returning.
They got some All American caliber guys.
Their linebackers are great. Their defensive line is great. They have some safeties that are top notch. So the defense should be fine. They should, and especially the way that Tulsa is a very run heavy offense, and their quarterback I think is still only a sophomore. I think he was a freshman last year.
Tulsa shouldn't score more than if they score a touchdown, I might be surprised.
I think
they shouldn't score more than 7, even if they score. If they score a touchdown.
Tulsa had 2 running backs that had like 900 yards apiece, so they're just going to try to run the whole time, which is perfect for Michigan State to match up against. And Michigan State should just be able to stop the run the entire time. I would assume. So this is the game where you want to see Michigan State get their offense rolling, get everything moving, try to run the ball because we need to be able to figure out the offensive line. Running backs are a bit of a question.
Yeah.
That's like my biggest concern is the running back offensive line combo. I have a little bit of concerns about Lewerke, but he's been in the system long enough that I think that'll be okay. But it's you got to get all, kind of like what Malik was saying, get all the cobwebs out, get everybody going, get everybody on pace, and you just want to look dominant in these kind of games, I think.
Anything you want to add to that, Malik?
Nope.
Moving on. All right. So as we
moving
get to here we go. It's that time of year again. Malik's got his Michigan shirt on, and he is the Michigan Wolverine slappy around here.
Yeah.
But there's a question we have to ask.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Malik,
I've come to talk with you again.
how are you doing?
I
heading
didn't put
into
him up to this
Michigan?
one for once.
We remember how it was, how the season ended last year, how broken down you were. Will you be able to bounce back this year?
Listen,
Go ahead, speak. I'll have the music just playing very softly underneath.
they're gonna beat Middle Tennessee like 69-10. They always beat up on the average to bad teams. That's what they always do. A few weeks ago, I predicted they'd go like 11-1 and make the playoff, but they're gonna let me down again. they're
All right,
gonna let me down again.
music before we
Listen,
get YouTube copy strikes.
Listen, they are going to let me down again. They're going to let down the fan base again. Josh Gaddis
I didn't
is
mean-
bringing
I-
in this
okay,
new
I know-
exciting offense.
Hey, they're playing Middle Tennessee State this week.
I like Shea Patterson.
fine.
I made him so
the
depressed.
receivers are really good. Talented running backs, talented defense.
I didn't mean to
They're-
make you
yeah.
so depressed.
This-
I apologize.
Malik,
It's the same.
This week is a cakewalk. Okay.
Yeah.
We're trying to hype him
yeah.
up now because he's got
It's
so
a cakewalk.
sad.
I know.
Are you okay, Malik?
No.
What do you want them to do in this first game though? Do you just want
What do
them?
I want the
You just want them to see 70
Well,
points
I
on
want
the board?
I want the run game to get established. Jim Harbaugh hasn't named a starting running back because he has a mix of guys that have a bunch of talented guys that have all played well in camp. You have Zach Charbonnet, who's the 5-star running back coming in from
Right.
California. Power and speed mix. He's probably the guy I'm hyping up the most because I expect a lot out of him. His talent is made for Jim Harbaugh and what he wants to do. Get the run game established. This is going to be one of the best offensive line they've had since the Lloyd Carr era. He's going to play a lot of true freshmen. I want to see how those guys look in the first game. Daxton Hill, their highest rated recruit in a very long time, probably besides Rashawn Gary and Jabril Peppers. 5-star guy. He's going to play some safety, play some nickel. and see how Josh Gaddis' offense looks from the start. I mean, it's going to be fast paced. They're going to throw the ball around a lot. See how these freshman receivers look open. I mean, when they get in space, see how wiggly they are, how they use their quickness. Yeah, just see how they look.
Yeah, I was
The
going to say
different things.
changing up the offense will be a big test for them, and that too makes me think like that goes back to Michigan State too. Michigan State did a lot of like little coaching changes here and there within the system. So I think both teams are they're not entirely changing the system, but little things like that are kind of important to be able to work out in these early games to figure out the flow of the players and the coaches and making sure that everybody's kind of on the same page.
They're gonna blow them out. Yeah,
75-10.
I doubt it.
I'm going
75.
I'm going 69-10.
Don't steal my 10.
Also, Jim Harbaugh also said he wants to and expects to play Dylan McCaffrey as well as Shea Patterson. Because Dylan McCaffrey is a very, very close second.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason Shea Patterson is the starter is because he's been in the system for 2 years and he has a complete command of everything they're doing. But
Right.
yeah, if Shea wasn't here, Dylan would be the clear front runner, the starting quarterback. So we have one of the best quarterback rooms in the country. And when Dylan McCaffrey comes in, I expect him to be efficient and run things smoothly also. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go in this first game.
Yeah. Aside from MSU and Michigan, there's some big games this week. What stands out to you guys? Joey, I'll hit you first.
Auburn, Oregon. I think it's the biggest game this
Marquee,
weekend
yeah.
because Auburn is 16th in the country and Oregon's 11th, I believe. Auburn is going to have, did you say it was redshirt freshman quarterback?
True freshman quarterback.
True freshman.
Yeah, Bo Nix.
And then versus arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Justin Herbert.
There's been news in the past few days. They have a bunch of injuries with their starting receivers. So, yeah, they're going to have to play some guys they didn't expect to play so early. They're going to have to give them a lot of time. So, even they have Justin Herbert. They have
Michigan's got him choking up.
They have an elite O-line and a really good running back. So, they're still going to make some plays. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I'm interested, too, because if anybody watched our college football preview show, Chris, I hope you went back and watched it.
Why?
Sammy had talked about just,
You're the host of the show,
keeping up with our show,
Hey,
even when you're gone. But Auburn was the team that Sammy had picked as kind of a dark horse to maybe make a run this year.
I'm picking Hawaii.
Oregon. Anyway, okay, Malik. And Oregon was a team that I had picked to maybe make a little bit of a dark horse run. So it'll be interesting to see where these two teams, what they look like, especially week one in a matchup like this is always kind of tough. But I think just having the senior leadership in your quarterback with Justin Herbert coming back should propel Oregon over top. Especially with Auburn having a true freshman quarterback, that's always tough. Granted, they have good recruiting, so I'm sure he's a solid quarterback no matter what. But just the difference between the two, I think, will make a big difference in this game.
Malik, any big games that also stand out to you?
Well, when it comes to that Oregon game, I just lost my train of thought. So we're gonna move on to the other game I was gonna talking about. The guy that everybody is expecting the Colts to draft in 2 years, Trevor Lawrence. He plays Thursday. He's just gonna light up Georgia Tech. They have a new head coach, so we know how that's gonna go. Ridiculous receivers, ridiculous talent. Dabo Swinney, yeah. Utah versus BYU, yearly rivalry, holy war, Thursday night.
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting because I expect Utah to win the Pac-12 this year. That's what I was going to talk about with Oregon.
Oh, you think that Utah is going to be okay?
But that game versus Oregon and Auburn is going to be kind of unfair. It's going to be an unfair look at Oregon because kind of like the Washington game last year when they opened up against Auburn, a lot of people expected that first game to just show people what Pac-12 football is about. And that's pretty unfair from the very first game of the season. People are going to expect Oregon to show up, and if they lose, they're going to just sink the Pac-12. If they win, they're going to say maybe a Pac-12 team makes the playoff, and it's more than just the first game, whether they win or lose. So that Utah BYU game is going to be interesting. Alabama's going to beat the mess out of Duke. Oh my God, that's just going to be bad. Northwestern Stanford is going to be a pretty good game. Northwestern has a new quarterback coming in from Clemson, who's a 5-star coming into Clemson. His name is Hunter Johnson. He's starting at Northwestern now, and Stanford is ranked 25th, so that'll be an interesting one. And Sunday, Oklahoma versus Houston, Jalen Hurts, first game. And Houston has De'Aaron King, who's one of the most exciting quarterbacks.
I was gonna say Houston is always a high-powered offense.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for the first few quarters. I expect Oklahoma to.
That'll be one of those 50 to 40 something games.
Hopefully, Oklahoma's defense has improved. Hopefully,
I don't know, man.
Houston has a really good offense, so it's possible.
Yeah.
Who's the favorite for Heisman this year?
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
If it's Trevor
know if he
Tua,
can-
that's the one too.
Yeah. Nothing, and then everyone
I mean,
else is chasing.
I'm sure there might be some breakout guy.
There always is.
But Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, I think will be close as long as the team does good. But yeah, I don't know who's gonna go against Trevor Lawrence.
A lot would have to go wrong for Trevor not to be in the top 2 of Heisman.
Anything else you guys want to touch on before we move on?
I'm actually pretty excited for college football. I'm not gonna lie,
I'm just happy it's back.
I'm waiting
this
for
is
the
just, this is
NFL.
my thing.
because my weekends have been somewhat boring during the day. Yeah, just not doing a whole lot.
Oh,
Just sitting around.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
something to watch during the day.
for sure. Moving on. Andre Drummond has been in the news.
Oh boy.
Malik didn't hear this. I couldn't find the audio. I was trying to find the audio for you. Andre Drummond, quote, is excited for free agency. He is, I'm paraphrasing now, but he talked about how he was like the top guy in next year's free agency. There's a lot of teams with cap space, and he seemed very excited to test the market.
Get him up out of here.
He said that after a charity event where he was playing basketball. What do you feel like when you hear that? I definitely heard it and I was like, wow, sounds like Andre really is really 50-50 on if he wants to stay in Detroit.
I'm excited that he's excited because that makes me more excited that he might be gone soon
Thank you.
in a trade
Thank you.
for assets.
Because so the biggest thing is I've always like compared Andre Drummond to Dwight Howard, where they have a lot of talent, but there's something up with them mentally where they're too carefree, I guess. And now Andre Drummond just showed me another side where he has sort of a big ego that he's grown. And
He's always had that big ego.
for me, it's just off-putting the way that he phrased a lot of those things. They
I
had
agree with
mentioned
that.
they had mentioned that his numbers, his rebounding numbers have increased every year, and that if he keeps that up consistently, that he will become one of the greatest rebounders of all time. Which
It's true.
it clearly would be. He would be one of the greatest rebounders of all time. But he feels like he is, and there's always like a push-pull of, yes, you want to have confidence, but you don't want to overdo it. And for me, it felt like he was sort of pushing, overdoing it. And it's just weird for me the way that he phrased a lot of these questions and saying how he was excited for free agency. I get that part because you always want to get a new contract, try to make more money.
But also when you're asked that question, more so than not, if a player's happy with their situation and have some interest in staying, they'll say, oh, we'll see where the season goes. I don't
Right.
know where their mindset is, but we'll see how the season plays out. No.
Right.
He flat out said, I'm excited, at a charity event nonetheless. And he's like, I'm excited. There's a lot of teams out there. And it's like, just like, dude, you're still playing for the Pistons.
Yeah. And he called himself out as the top free agent
Listen, man.
in this class, which
He actually,
is somewhat
yeah,
true.
Yeah.
I think the only other guys are Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Gordon Hayward.
Because a lot of players got extensions
right.
that were going to be.
There's one other guy that I'm missing too, but he's not as big, I think. So I'm not really sure. And to be honest, the way that a lot of guys of his caliber have gotten money, I don't know if his deal will be all that much bigger than the deal he's on now.
See, I disagree. I think he's going to get a max wherever he goes. Just because it's a limited market, people get teams get feeding frenzy get like a feeding frenzy type mentality during the free agency, especially with like the top tier guys. Doesn't matter. Like remember the Pistons, they went all out for Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva because even in that draft or free agent class, it was terrible. But those are the top guys, and they're like, just take our money.
Another thing though that people have talked about to watch out for, and that Drummond might not be aware of, is that there might be a lot of teams that are saving cap space because the 2021, that's Giannis.
But there's
more guys besides Giannis in that.
But there's gonna be one team that's like, okay, you guys wait while we snatch up Drummond.
Right, they might. There's usually somebody that's gonna take that.
A couple teams that I would watch. I think the Lakers. I think Andre wants to be in LA. I think that's his.
He wants to
dream.
be in a big city.
He loves LA.
He wants to be around the rappers. He wants to show off his fashion sense. He wants to be on the red carpets.
There's 3 teams to me. The Lakers. I think Portland is a dark horse because they have a need at center. Hassan's going to be gone after this year.
Unless he plays well. I think he's going to play well there.
We'll
but
see, Joe.
I like Yusuf Nurkic more than him.
And then the third, watch out for Boston. Kemba, Drummond connection, the UConn connection. They're building something there. I definitely think Boston is a strong option for Drummond.
Well, if we could trade
let's move that along. If you guys wanna,
Drummond to like Boston and we get like Jaylen Brown,
Yeah.
let's go for it. I'm cool.
Throw in a pick there, Danny, and then we're good.
I'm cool with that. But yeah, this definitely like tips the scale. Like let's try to make a move. Let's try to trade him.
And it's definitely like Drummond. Just keep your mouth shut until
Yeah.
Just don't talk about it. There's no need to talk about it.
Right. Because now
it's off-putting, and already a fan base that's not the best with you gets more ammo.
We have a very love-hate relation. Like Andre Drummond is the most popular guy on this team, I think. Still, maybe now that Blake has solidified himself
after this past year, it's Blake.
Yeah, with Blake buying into the Detroit
mindset and
mentality.
Everything.
Right.
How crazy is it that not just because he's a star, Blake comes in immediately and earns the trust and the respect of the fans immediately.
It's the mentality he has. He puts everything out there. The dude playing with a torn MCL in 2 playoff games, an injury you should not play with whatsoever, and he still put up solid numbers.
Yeah. This is a guy that was known as a guy that wasn't. He was never a tough guy. That's what they said in LA when he was on the Clippers. He wasn't a guy that was going to go all out and be tough. One season, he jumps over Andre in terms of respect and admiration.
After Andre, his whole beginning of his career, he was probably like the favorite player on this team that everybody loved. And immediately Blake just jumps in and takes over.
Their seasons ended on complete opposite directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way Andre looked into that playoff
game
series.
4, yeah. I think this year is going to be Blake and Derrick Rose that are the 2 most popular Pistons.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be by far, because I think Derrick Rose is still going to have a solid year.
Mm-hmm.
He has a solid fan
People are
base
going to be
behind him.
chanting for Derrick to start.
I think Derrick
That's
will
gonna
start
happen.
eventually.
I think he's going to compete for it. He already says that like he can accept the 6-man role, but he wants to be a starter. So he's going to at least, if anything, he'll at least push Reggie, which might be a good thing.
And I think Reggie's going to start, but I'm not sure he keeps that. Plus, you can trade Reggie for whatever now and have just Derrick fill in that spot. If you get
trade Reggie, trade Andre,
Derrick Rose,
might
sign
be
Carmelo. Still, that would have been. I know it's not going to happen.
That ship has sailed.
But that would have been cool. That would have been awesome. Think about the advertising they could have done.
Right.
D Rose and Melo and Blake.
And then
and Michael Beasley.
And trade.
If this was 2011,
oh my gosh.
And you trade Andre, and then like
if you told me
you have like a goofy season, but it'd be fun.
If you told me in 2011 that in the future the Pistons would have Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin, I'd be like, "Are you kidding me?"
So how many championships do they win?
Yeah, like 5. Yeah. But yeah, so the Drummond stuff is a little bit concerning, especially he's making comments not even before training camp has started. And he's already looks like his mind is aimed towards that. And of course he's probably gonna have his best season of his career this year.
Right.
Because he's aiming towards it.
Yeah.
And good for him. But if the Pistons are smart, they should trade him for assets if it seems like it's going down the path that it is. I'm concerned with the Pistons thinking they can negotiate something with him during free agency and losing him for absolutely nothing, which is the worst case scenario. I think that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. That's
exactly what I think is going to happen because I have no faith in the Pistons. I do have slight faith, but
I'm actually also scared the Pistons just offer him a max I just don't want that.
Well, I would be fine. A max extension, I'd be fine with that. Then you still have a tradable asset. You have nothing if he walks.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. I get that. I would rather him get traded, but I don't know.
It's complicated because then you need a center. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of stuff you got to work with.
Well, we got Thon Maker, right?
Blake would be our de facto center.
We should have kept Aaron Baines.
Yeah, and well, that was one of the worst contracts Stan Van Gundy ever did. He gave Aaron Baines a player option on a cheap deal. It's like, dude, if Aaron is good, he's gonna leave. Like, what's the point?
He's better.
You should
than
have had a
Zaza
team
Pachulia.
option. Gave him more money up front and gave him a team option because they could have had Aaron Baines longer. They didn't get bird rights because he was only here for, what was it, 2 years? Yeah, 2 years.
I mean, I guess too, if we trade Drummond, then we can get Sekou in there a little bit earlier, maybe.
I
Sekou
forgot
plays
about
small
him.
forward.
Yeah,
I completely
put him at
forgot
like a
about
power
Sekou.
forward.
Sekou plays small forward. No way is
I
that
don't know.
dude playing power forward. Stop.
This is 2019, Chris.
Yeah, and that dude's rail thin.
2019.
He's not rail thin.
He's pretty thin.
Like 220.
210.
That's some muscle.
He's also like 6'9".
It's pretty good
That's
for
like
an
that's
NBA
like
rookie.
That's like a power forward.
A high school power forward.
Yeah. Thank you.
Small ball is the way to play.
To an extent, I agree. Sekou is not ready for that yet.
And throw him into the fire. He's got to get going sometime.
Oh my gosh. Moving on. There's no other really Pistons news, but the Nets are solidifying their roster. Karis LeVert yesterday signed a 3-year, $55 million extension. Keeps him signed in Brooklyn through the 2022 season, where they have Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and DeAndre Jordan signed all through their core. I think they made a mistake with DeAndre Jordan. I think they should have just
Jared Allen
it
is
should
a
have been
part of
Jared
that
Allen.
core.
And
Yeah,
Jared
it's
Allen's
so
gonna,
stupid.
unfortunately, Jared Allen's probably gonna leave.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, well,
Ooh.
Pistons take Jared Allen.
I would take that
That's totally
in
cool
a
with me.
heartbeat. Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. Oh man.
Always good to see a Michigan man get paid.
Okay, hold on. Can we do a trade machine here? How can we get Jared Allen to Detroit?
3-team trade.
This is a pipe dream. Whatever we're cooking up right now, it's probably not going to happen.
We'll see.
The Pistons aren't that smart.
But what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's a high risk, high reward type extension with Karis because he did get hurt? There's question that he'll be the same that he was because he tore his ACL, correct?
Yeah.
I believe it was a torn ACL, or was it a broken ankle? It was one of the two.
Actually, I think he broke his ankle.
Yeah,
It was one of the two. I
Yeah,
can't.
he broke his ankle. That's what happened.
But it's
Yeah.
also you have Karis injured coming back. Kevin Durant's out for next year. There's a lot of Kyrie is still a question mark in my opinion after what he did in Boston. There's so many question marks with this team. I can totally see them being a complete flop. By 2022, I can see them getting only as far as the second round in the NBA playoffs.
But see, I think that locking in Karis LeVert doesn't really do anything too negative because his upside is so good. He's still very young. And like you said, everybody else is already locked in too. So if by the point it doesn't work out, they're all going to be gone around the same time, which I think will work out. I think that's kind of why they did it. And I think that LeVert just has so much upside on this team to being so versatile.
What about you, Malik?
I think it's a good move. I think what he showed coming back from that injury last year, I think he deserved that type of contract. When you play like that in the playoffs in your very first playoff series, you go into Philadelphia, ball out, come back to Brooklyn, ball out even more. I mean, he plays hard for them. He's very talented. I think he's only going to get better. I think it was a good move for them.
And you think too, before his injury, he was on pace to be most improved player of the year.
Yeah.
Granted, he got hurt pretty early on in the
Say it
season,
was
but
like 10 games in.
but like that early few weeks was pretty crazy for him.
Yeah. We'll see. Again, question marks with Brooklyn. Exciting team to watch. Exciting to see how everything shapes up, but definitely a lot of question marks with that team. Next up, Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howe.
Dwight Howe. Word.
Yeah.
Signs with the Lakers. He's gonna wear number 39.
Dumb
Sounds-
number.
I don't know why.
I have to hear the reason.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
But he signed with the Lakers. The Lakers said they're just going to give him a chance. They'll waive him if they need to. And it sounds like it's really just his last hurrah.
Better option than Joakim Noah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Don't.
Yes.
Don't
Come
even.
on, man.
All right.
We don't need to see that ugly jump shot anymore.
JaVale McGee's going to start over him, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long until Dwight starts over JaVale? Because I think that's going
I
to
don't-
eventually
I don't
happen.
know. I don't think so.
Mid-season?
I think Dwight would have to actually show that he's playing well. But if he does, I think he can take over that starting spot. But
Dwight is instantly like the best backup
he-
center in the NBA.
he's got to prove himself still. I think.
100%. Coming off all those
wow.
injuries, yeah.
Breaking news into the studio.
Oh boy.
Zach Zenner got cut.
Oh,
What am I going to do with my Zenner shirt?
pay your respects.
There goes the Lions season.
What am I going to do with my Zach Zenner shirt?
I don't know.
You have a Zach Zenner
That's really
shirt?
actually really sad. He's like
Yeah.
a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Zach Zenner. Unfortunate.
It's going to go hanging up next to the Peyton Siva Pistons jersey.
a South Dakota Jackrabbits Hall of Famer.
No,
Shout out South Dakota. Sorry to cut you guys off.
you're
But
good.
that was big news. Joey, Dwight Howard.
You know, I'm a big Dwight Howard fan. I mean, I don't have to. I've said it before. I like him. I think I'm sure he's got something in the tank, but it's hard to say where his head is at.
You may be the last of the big Dwight Howard fans, if that's true.
Maybe.
That's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think there are any big ones left.
He's also
a few in Orlando still rocking those Magic jerseys.
he's also one of the few Charlotte Hornet fans out there.
Yeah, I just think he still has talent.
You big on Terry Rozier?
No, that's a dumb contract.
Michael Jordan, greatest of all time.
You know, I think he was like considering a Sacramento Kings offer until Michael got on the phone.
Greatest
He talked to him and Terry's like, I got to go there.
Michael Jordan, greatest player of all time, worst owner of all time.
He's not the worst owner.
He's not.
He's
as
close.
There's James Dolan in New York. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
close.
that's
It's
true.
not close.
That's true. But anyway, I think Dwight obviously can still contribute, but obviously his mentality needs to change. And he's been saying that it's going to change for years, and he
At
says
this-
it almost every year.
At this point, if it hasn't changed, there's no point in
But if his mentality, the problem is too that if he has figured it out and his mentality is changed and he's ready to try to win, he still has an injury history at this point in his career. So it's hard to say what you're going to get from him. But if you can get anything similar to like what he was in Charlotte, the Lakers are going to be much better off, and he'll definitely help that team.
It'll be interesting to see. NBA season's around the corner. We're already almost in September. Training camp's going to open up at the end of September, so we're finally getting out of August, the worst sports month of the year.
all
Thank you.
preseasons need to be cut short. Every single
Well,
one of them.
I mean,
NFL
NBA has been cutting it
NFL
short.
needs to go down to 2 weeks. 4 weeks makes no sense. It never has to me. NBA
Hard
cut,
knocks, man.
NBA cut it down to like a week.
You know, another random thing.
I think NBA needs it more so because they have a longer season, and they only have like 5 games, 6 games now. It used to be like 8 or 9.
Random thing. If you guys were to tell me
Hooper's hoop. It is what it is. This is the pros.
back in the day that LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Dwight Howard were on the same team, I would cry.
No, because no.
Russell,
Hold on.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis at the time Dwight Howard was at his peak was not a thing.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, somewhat.
Even if you go back to Houston, Dwight, early Anthony Davis and LeBron all together, it still would have sounded insane in like 2013.
No, because he was playing with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. I would have been like, that's a downgrade.
Anyway,
Don't tell me
Whatever.
Dwayne Wade.
I'm just saying, like,
Don't sleep on Wade Bosh.
if you're
in their
thinking
prime.
like everybody's primes, Anthony Davis is in his prime. If you go back
Dwight
to
is not.
if LeBron was in his prime, if Dwight was in his prime,
If
that
you-
kind of thought.
okay.
That
If
kind
you
of thought
give-
process.
If you give me LeBron, Davis, and Dwight all in their prime, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, that's
close.
a toss up.
It's close.
That's why I'm not saying it really would be like, oh, it'd be crazy because it doesn't. He already played with one of the greatest teams.
Just on sheer size, it's crazy.
Okay, I can give you that. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we close it down?
The FIBA team, U.S. FIBA team, lost to Australia, snapping a 78-game win streak. Got lit up by Patty Mills.
Patty went nuts in the fourth
Patty
quarter.
always,
I love
Patty
seeing
has
that.
some big games.
Yeah, even in the NBA, he does
like
that
Malik
every once
said,
in a while.
Hooper's hoop.
But
But then they beat Canada, so that's good.
like, what is up with this FIBA team?
Well, it's a bunch of
It's a
jabronis.
bunch of young guys.
They're all like top level NBA talent.
Top level. Come on.
Yeah.
come on, come
That's
on.
our level.
Brooke
Kemba,
Lopez is their starting.
Donovan
center.
Mitchell.
Miles Plumlee.
Miles Plumlee. Brooke
Okay, well, they're
Lopez.
big.
Come on, Joe.
right. But like when you compare them to international
some
talent,
really good young players.
they
But
should.
Australia's full of pros too.
They should.
That's
be,
the thing. Australia is full of
Right.
pros, and that's a young team that hasn't
Australia-
played together.
Australia is one of the better international teams, but still, I
They
feel
got
like there
Delhi.
should be no excuses. Stop it. Do not bring that man's name up.
Well, that's going to do it for the show this week. Talk to luck, talk some college football. We're going to break down Michigan State next week, preview the Detroit Lions, and then hopefully not talk anymore about Andre Drummond until the season starts. We will see you guys next time.
Bye. Jeremy Lin, Beijing Duck.
He retired from the NBA. Shout out Jeremy Lin.
He'll be back.
Michigan is going to disappoint me again.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.